Agriculture has always played an important role in the development of our community. The Ag Museum, located just west of the Coal House, primarily displays artifacts from our community's early agriculture activities.
Good morning. Welcome to the Moundridge Agricultural Museum. We're going to look at several items. We'll start out with the Mitchell wagon. Henry Mitchell was a Scottish immigrant. He came to Chicago in 1934. He didn't like Chicago, so he moved to a little city which is now Kennesaw in 1938. He was there for a while, and in 1955 he moved to Racine, Wisconsin. He learned the trade of building wagons in his home country, so he was building wagons. He was building a full array of wagons, from small buckboards to huge wagons. He didn't like the hardwoods that he could get locally, so he went down to the Ozarks, to Missouri and Arkansas, to get oak and hickory. Well, the different wood increased the durability of the wagons, so he could actually give a 12-month guarantee on his wagons, which was very rare at that time. The wagons become to know the monarchs of the road. He was selling them to everywhere in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and South America. In the late 1890s, he had 600 employees and was building 100 wagons a day. In 1903, they started building automobiles. They had interests in many other businesses as well. In 1911, they were the largest employer in Racine. They had over 2,000 employees, and the company was valued at over $10 million. In 1917, thinking the future was in automobiles, they sold the wagon division to John Deere. Well, the competition in the auto business was fierce. By the mid-20s, the Mitchell Company was broke. They sold the remaining part of the automobile company to a company called Nash Motor Companies. By the way, I said that they sold the wagon division in 1917 to John Deere. John Deere continued to manufacture and sell wagons under the Mitchell name for another 30 years until the late 1949. These are the seeds that have been growing in Kansas since the 1800s. This is oats, which we don't grow much around here anymore, but it's a feed for livestock. Then barley. We don't grow much of that anymore, but it's also a feed for livestock. This is alfalfa. We still grow quite a bit of alfalfa, and that's a hay feed. We feed for livestock. Here's corn. Now corn, we grew a lot back in the 1800s, and then it kind of died out, and it's coming back now. But corn is very important to our lifestyle. Do you know that corn is used in over 3,500 different products, either in the making process or actually in the product? This is milo, or grain sorghum. It's a replacement for corn in a lot of feed rations. Soybeans. This is something we did not grow very little of when I was growing up, but now it's a very important crop. It's used in a lot of things, in food products and rations for livestock. And then of course there's wheat. We grow a lot of wheat nowadays. Did you know that before Kansas became the wheat state, it was one of the largest producers in the country of corn? In fact, in 1883, it was right up there as number 1 or number 2. So they were growing a lot of corn, so every farmer had a unit like this. What this is a corn sheller. You put the corn in here, there would be a crank. Cob would come out here, and the corn would go down there. And as I said, they would turn a crank, and later on, when they would get small engines, they'd put a pulley on there and a belt, and they'd just turn it like that. The wagon would pull up here, and they'd just scoop it off into here, and it was just a continuous process. Now, Moundridge is known for a certain kind of lawnmower. It's called a grasshopper, because grasshopper is made right here. And the grasshopper actually has roots in Moundridge other than being made here. The man that invented it grew up in Moundridge. But Moundridge is also known for another lawnmower. This is the Regier lawnmower. This was 1961. This is serial number 2. It was built by John Warren Regier, just north of town. He later sold his rights to a company in Heston, and the company is called XL, and they make the Hustler mower. So this is the predecessor of the Hustler mower. It's a roller mill. It's used in the process of grinding wheat into flour. This one came from the Alta Mill to the southwest of Moundridge. The Moundridge Mill had one. These were very, very popular. They were excellent in that there's 2 rollers on each side. They go like this. One roller is going just a smidgen faster than the other roller, so it kind of breaks the grain up so it can be separated into its 3 parts. This is a motor out of the Moundridge Mill that was just on South Christian. This is a 40 horsepower motor, and everybody in town knew when the mill had started up, because all the lights would go just about out until the motors got up to full speed, and then they'd come back on. This is what they call a purifier. Once the grain has been ground into flour, it would go through this machine here. And there'd be a whole row of these because it was a slow process. There's screens in here with little tiny holes, and the flour would go across it and shake, and the white pure flour would fall out to the bottom here and then go to be bagged up. The larger particles would go on through to be sold as another product or to be reground. The Moundridge Mill was the largest employer in Moundridge for many years. They shipped flour to many parts of the world. This display right here is very unique. It looks like artwork, but actually it's the inside of the grain chutes where hundreds of thousands of bushels of grain would slide across. Grain would wear away the softwood and leave the hardwood, and it's very unique design. In the late 1800s, they invented the binder. International Harvester invented it, Mr. McCormick, and John Deere. But Mr. McCormick had a marketing plan. He would let a farmer use his binder free of charge for one season. If he liked it, he could keep it and set it up on payments and pay it off over time. But if he didn't like it, he could return it at no cost. Mr. McCormick sold thousands of binders through that process.
Thank you for joining me on this tour of the Agriculture Museum.